Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me today live in my Facebook group, especially for my CheerBod Challenge ladies. I'm trying to bring in awesome fitness entrepreneurs that are just crushing it in the space, just to give my clients a different outlook and a different opinion on different things. So I think it's awesome that you're here joining me today, as you have an amazing business. You're a chiropractor, and I just let yourself introduce. I'll just let you introduce yourself, honestly, just so everyone can get an idea of who you are, and then we can jump into some amazing questions today.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, thank you so much for having me in your group, and I know you're doing really well and growing and making an impact in people's lives. And that was really like my why, and what I'm doing is why I want to make an impact in people's lives. So I'm Dr. Eric Smith. I'm a chiropractor by trade. I'm now living in Miami. I used to live in Chicago, and I was a chiropractor that had a practice in Sears Tower in downtown Chicago. So it was great. And my niche was working on bodybuilders and such because I used to compete. So the thing with me is I actually didn't get into it until later in terms of like bodybuilding and such, because I'm 44 now. So my people I typically deal with is like 35 and over, people that really want to like have the best bods of their life, and like a lot of hormonal stress and just life changes, and how to still live young for now and then going forward. So a little bit of my story though. So yes, I'm a chiropractor by trade and come from a small town in Michigan, and definitely did not learn a lot of good eating habits. My parents were a lot of just processed foods, junk foods. I used to drink a lot of chocolate milk, things like that. I used to be a really obese kid. Yeah. So, I mean, funny story is I actually used to run a KFC back in the day, which is like mind blowing to people that I'm like a fitness guy now. So, but I really have always had an interest in like weight loss and longevity and how that all ties in. So as I've learned with being a chiropractor, a lot of people think as chiropractors is like pop my back or just joints and things like that. But realistically, there's three main things that chiropractors look at, which you and I, as kind of fitness professionals and health nuts, also look at, and they fall in three main categories. One, it's eat well, move well, and think well, right? So a lot of this stuff and what I focus on is that. So of course I want you moving. You're doing the same thing with like exercise and the goals with that. You're hitting them on nutrition and such. And then two, like even this, bringing on professionals and other people that have different views on things, you're really helping people understand and look at that mindset of like where you are, right? So with me, that's really what I dig into a lot in my group, is really like the overall package of being a coach, not just a trainer, not just a nutritionist, but the overall like coaching package, to make sure that we're addressing those three things. Because if we're not, then you're leaving something on the table. And I can tell you as a chiropractor, a lot of chiropractors do just focus on structural and movement, which is great. But to me, if you think about your neurological system, your brain controls your body and your body tells your brain some feedback, right? So with that being said, your brain doesn't just talk to the muscles. It doesn't just talk to the joints. It talks to the organs. And so digestion, things like that, I dig into a lot and fix a lot of people's digestive and bloating issues and things like that. Because if your organs are stressed, you're going to have that stress in your structure, and then that's going to come out in poor performance of your body, in physical fitness, in movement, pain, things like that. But then on the other end of that too, where is that stress coming from? And that could be life stuff like family, that could be finances, it could be trauma from before. So there's so much that really ties into it. So as a coach, like that's what I all kind of pull together and make sure we find a solution that works for your life.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge knowledge bomb just dropped today. That's amazing.
Boom. Yeah. So
Exactly.
some people come to me and they're like, I want a meal plan. And I'm like, you're not getting a meal plan. You're going to get this. So
yeah, it's super crazy to think about that too. Just, I have a lot of clients that come to me and are asking, okay, like I need a weight loss, I need something to help me drop like, 40, 50 pounds. And, it kind of ties into different factors, right? There's not just weight loss. You can't just do exercises and hope that everything falls off, because there's different pillars, like you mentioned, right? There's the nutrition side of things, which is so important. It's the stress side of things. You can't be super stressed out, or else, that affects your neurological system, which affects your whole rest of your body too. So it's really interesting about all the different key pieces. And when there's one problem in life, usually chances are there's a lot more that's underlined there that you just can't see on that surface level. So I completely love that.
Absolutely. Well, you said something key there, and it's interesting because people come to you and say, I want to lose weight, right? So and then typical follow is like, well, how much do you want to lose? That's great. That's a target, but why? I mean, why do you think you need to lose weight? Like, why not just be you, right? Why don't just live your life? Like, why do you want to lose weight? There's always a real reason for that. A lot of people want to lose weight because they're worried about a disease or chronic condition their parents have, or they want to feel better about themselves in their skin, or they know that they're off center of where they would have their self-confidence back. There's a deeper thing with that. And if you don't really address that, losing weight is a good push, but as we all know, when things get tough, we need a pull, right? So your pull is always going to be your real deep reason to do that. And for some people, especially with a lot of my clients, they have kids and things like that. That's their real why. That's their pull, their family, things like that. But realistically, you need to look at the push and the pull to really kind of get you through those plateaus and times that they might be challenging us as a coach. Like, what are we doing? I'm not seeing results. Like, what the heck? Where you're like, oh, you're sleeping better, your digestion's better, you're happier, your spouse even like emailed me and said that you're happy. Like, what do you mean you're not seeing results? Like, you kind of got to look at some of those non-scale victories too, and not just focus on that first part that we hear, which is weight loss, which is great. But like, I always challenge people like, why? Like, why do you want to do that? Or why do you want to put on muscle? Like, what does it mean to you? You know?
Exactly. No, I love that because people don't really talk about that. And I think that's hard when you meet someone new too, is to like be able to really understand that. And as a coach, that's something that we both have to navigate through. It's just like that deeper understanding, because it's hard. It's hard to talk about the stuff people don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
Once you
Yeah,
get
I like to do that too. And talk about my like stress of how I got there. So my why was like, oh man, I'm a chiropractor in downtown Chicago. I just came out of school. I'm like 35-40% body fat. Like, I just need to have somebody hold me accountable because I want to look like a pillar of health. I know these things. So this is the worst. Like, I know how to do it. So if I don't look like it, like I'm the worst person, because at least that some people just say they don't know how to do it. And that like they're ahead of me, because the people that know but don't do it are the worst, right? So that's where Curly understanding that, and I like to tell my story. So thank you for opening up with some of that, of how I got there and why. Because you got to trust your coach, right? You want people to trust you, and I tell people this because I'm not ever trying to sell you. The call we have is actually an interview, because I want to make sure you're coachable. I want to make sure this is going to work for both of us, right? And make sure that I can help you achieve your goal. But if I don't open up and extend that hand of like trust, right? Because disclosure is the way to trust. So if you disclose something to me and you're vulnerable with me and you tell me that, I'm not really selling you anything. I'm just actually giving you an opportunity to work with me to come up with a solution. And you don't need to do it. I need you to buy in, yes, but I don't need to talk you into the solution that I know that works. So, letting people be vulnerable in a safe space to kind of talk about their real why makes that whole program, just that trust, go a little bit better, because I'm not trying to use it against you. I'm trying to understand you better so I can make a program that works for you. I'm sure you do a lot of the same thing.
Exactly. Yep. You hit the nail on the head. So tell me a little bit about like what you do, or like where you've learned all of your knowledge.
Yeah. So a lot of it, thanks for asking that. So with me having wax and wings and different things, I actually didn't start weightlifting until I was like, probably like 22. So I used to be a heavier kid, and I started playing soccer all year round, and then I had jobs and things like that. And I didn't actually get adjusted for my first time until I was 28. So then I went back to school later. So I had to get another bachelor's and on to my doctorate. And that was a little grueling, but well worth it. But during that time, it's funny, and you see this a lot with people that are in big professional programs, right? It blows my mind, because the time that I was the least healthy was probably either in my like undergrad, where I was like just living it up, came from a small town to like, oh, all these people, like, party, crazy times, right? But then when I was in chiropractic school in the doctorate program, it was so intense that I didn't eat well. I was getting adjusted, but I wasn't like exercising a ton. I mean, I have some fun pictures in my group that they see that I'm like flexing and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, like I look great and all this. And now I'm like, oh, man. Like, that's okay, because it was good for me to feel that. So there's that whole portion of it. But realistically, like, it's nuts because people are like, dude, you used to look like this. And I remember I used to do Sean T's Insanity, get up in the morning, like do that, jump around. Man, I'm feeling good, but I was probably still pushing like 35-40% body fat. So it was really funny how like there's that and how you feel about it. But realistically, once I got more serious about my nutrition is when things changed, because exercise is important for mental health, for just circulation, a lot of other things, and burning calories. But the diet's what really changed me. So after I started doing that, I had a coach for a while. He's a bodybuilding coach, just holding me accountable. So I did that and like knew these things. It was fun because I got to see what he said, and then I knew my science of it. And I'm very science based on a lot of things. So I know biologically and biochemically how things work in the body from the studies that I've had, versus his was a lot of experience on certain things. So we could bridge that gap, and I just applied it and then made changes along the way. So I started, cutting a lot of fat to do my first show, which, man, if you see my pictures from my first show, I got dead last, like zero. I was crushed, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I am not a dead last guy. I was like, nope, we're doing this again. And so we got better and better and better, and to the point where I got to where I was competing in men's physique, and I missed my pro card by 2 spots. But then I got to a point of like where you're at, of like, what do you want to do? And what does this do for you, right? Same thing when I ask people, like, if I get your goal physique, what does that mean? And then where do we go from there, right? Getting you to understand that the journey is where the beauty is, not the destination. Like climbing a mountain, there's all that, right? But when you get to the peak, you're there for a while and then you like leave, right? It's cool. You take some pictures, say I did this, but that journey up and down is where the like learning and experience is. So I decided, I'm like, I don't think I want to compete anymore. I want to invest more and like take the energy and such I learn to help more people. So that's where I am today, is doing that. So I've definitely scaled and grew my business to impact more people. So I do mainly like photo shoots and content, like show and things like that. But in terms of competing, it was fun. I learned a lot, learned the extremes of everything, of me being really heavy to me being like, I think my national show, I think I was like 4% body fat ish. The in-body scan I did, when I was on stage, I was 178, 180 pounds, I think. I'm 5'10", and the machine said I had 8 pounds of total fat on me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the room changed, the wind blew, and I'm like, oh, so cold, so cold, right? Like,
gosh, I bet.
Yeah. So it looks good and can look good, right? But physically, I felt like hell. And so a man should typically be between 10 and 20% body fat. Women should typically be between 18 and 28, and a health reason. So in the health realm of things. So when I was that low, my body was like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, let's back off. And so it was pushing me back, and I was okay with that. So I'm more comfortable around the 8 to like 12% body fat range. And it was a good learning experience to see like what happens when you do get there, what it does in the short term for health reasons, but it also, or health issues, and what it does in the long term for health issues, not only physically, but mentally. Because obviously as you get certain shredded and things like that, both sides of the fence, it's interesting because there's a lot of people that like, if people are overweight and you shame them, you're like chastised, right? But for some reason, a lot of times I found it was really odd that it was okay for people to say, you look too skinny, or like, oh, are you okay? Like it's not a good look on you. Like, why is that socially acceptable, but this isn't? So whole lots of things to unpack with that. I'm sure that's a whole nother video and things, but realistically, it all comes back to like you being comfortable in your skin with your own goals. And that's what really matters. So that's where I am now, is I'm very happy with where I'm at. A lot of people don't look at me and go, hey, he's 44, so they definitely think I'm like a lot younger. So I love that. And I just want to make sure that people are happy, smiling, and living their best life, not only the like short term, but just again, like the long term.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story. And I can even resonate with you from the point of, you want to help and impact more people now that you did it for yourself. And I think that's huge, right? Because like you have so much knowledge, and then, from doing all of these different kind of trial and errors, right, with your body, and saying, okay, like I've gone to the maximum extent that I could physically push my body in terms of looks, but then it's like the health really affects you, and this is my happy medium, and I want to show people how to live their best life in their happy medium. Like that's truly amazing. something I was actually talking about, I think with one of my clients too, was the fact of, do you want to look like the person you train with? I think that's huge, right? Because I know a lot of times, even I've gone to like one of the gyms around the local, local town I'm in, like St. Petersburg, Florida. And I see some of these personal trainers and they're not practicing what they preach. And it kind of comes from like a trust issue. You're like, wow, well, am I going to end up like that if I can't trust the way my trainer actually conducts their body and their self? So I think that's very interesting to think about. But someone that actually does practice what they preach, like that's huge, right? Like you have more knowledge. I think it's more trustworthy for everyone in the long run. So that's really cool. And you don't look 44.
Well,
Definitely
thank you.
younger. I would say that too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned, in my intake and when I talk to people, I was like, hey, send me a picture. Send me like 3 pictures of people so that way they're not focused on one. Send me a picture of like 3 physiques or 3 kind of people, Instagram, wherever, that you want to look like, and I'll help you build that. But it helps me, and it's actually a setup because I want to know like why they want to, right? Like, why do you think, like, what do you like about that? Because different cultures and things like that, like kind of being Miami down here now versus me being in the north, like the body, like down here, they want like big legs, big booties, like things like that, versus the north, they've already like got it from different sports and such they were playing. And I mean, there's definitely a lot of like fluff on there, but they're there, you know what I mean? Different quality. But like looking at that, because your vision of where you want to go is how I coach. Like I could look at you, Julia, and be like, all right, like let's do this. And you're like, that's not what I want. And then like we're off because you're guiding me in terms of what you want for the goal line. And then I make the plan to get you there. And so when I understand what your end result or what you're looking for is, then I can like map it out better and like be realistic about what that looks like, how long it's going to take on a good, like even keel pace, not this like drastic stuff. Right. So as long as people are bought in and understand that, it takes that pressure off of thinking like you're behind, right? Because what happens when we think we're behind or we're not hitting our results? Next thing you know, we're off track, and then it's like, oh. And so when people start ghosting me on check-ins, that's when I'm about ready to book a flight and go after them because I know what's going on.
That's what I feel like too. Like a lot of people, are scared to take that next extra step where it's like, if you just find someone that you trust, you're able to be vulnerable with, like, that's huge because that's where you're going to see results. And I think I'm going to start like asking the ladies that I work with too. Like, that's a really awesome tip you just shared. Like, send a couple of pictures to see what you actually look like. Because my view of what they could actually look like could be a lot different than their view of themselves or what they actually want to look like. So I love that. That's super awesome that you do that.
Yeah, it's more of a relatable thing too, because I think there are a lot of fitness pros and people out there that have their vision of like, oh, your body, you could do this. But I do get a lot of people like, hey, I just want to look like you, which is great. But I also do get a lot of people like, hey, man, like I don't take this bad, but I don't want to be like that muscular. And I'm like, okay, like that's fine. I don't take it that way at all.
Yeah.
But it's still like, what do you want? And if the coach doesn't ask you that and like learn more about you, then you're kind of just, I mean, they're helping you out. They're going to help you toward that initial thing of like, you want to lose weight. But I would encourage people to dig a little bit deeper and make sure they mesh like with you. And that's one reason I enjoy talking with you. And I support you as a coach and such, is that I know you get to deeper levels with people and can relate to them with the experiences you had, as well as like be vulnerable enough to talk about your experiences. So that's where I set you higher level and appreciate you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you too. No, that's awesome. And I think like a lot of the stuff that I do with my clients is they kind of know what they're getting into a little bit from like a certain standpoint because, my business is the CheerBod challenge. So if you look at cheerleaders, if you look at the way that my body's structured, I practice what I preach with like a lot of body weight cheerleading exercises. And because it's high intensity, because you're running around, because you're having fun, your body just naturally looks like the way that most cheerleaders do, right? Like you got the toned arms, you got like the 6-pack abs, you got like a nice butt, like nice booty from spotting, and like muscular legs too. So I think that's where it kind of like people are drawn to certain, you know, certain types of fitness because of the actual ability that you're doing. And you do a lot of like body weight, like, well, not body weight, but like using weights and any sort of like muscular building. But it is interesting when you have someone that says, you know, I want to do a little bit of both. I want to use weights, or I want to do all body weight. And it's like, you kind of have to adapt and see, okay, what is it that they actually want?
Yeah.
I do have another question for you, kind of going off of that. What do you
Sure.
think some of the challenges that your clients have faced, and how have you been able to overcome them as a coach?
Yeah, very good question. And this is something that anybody that's watching this, that's got a coach in the past, hasn't gotten a coach or whatever, or even trying to figure out things on themselves. So first, I would suggest you get a coach. Like, if I wanted to drive from Miami to California, I could go and generally use the sun as direction, right? Or I can just get on Google Maps and have it do that. It's going to save me a lot more time, money, and I'm going to feel like I'm going the right way, so which is always good. So get a coach. That'll be good. But I would say the challenges that people have is in that too. Like, when I communicate with them and they keep that, I feel like I have a good retention and try my best to connect with them. But I feel like the challenges are, we all do set expectations, right? So we think these things should be happening at a certain rate and whatever. And the main thing that we're conditioned as Americans to use real quick as a measurement is a scale. But I can definitely tell you, as a coach, I don't care how much you weigh at all. You know what I mean? Like, would you guess right now that I'm 201 today? I'm 5'10". And so people would think like, oh gosh, she's probably like maybe 185 or 190, or they might not even know and put like, oh, it's probably like 225. Like, I can tell it. And so the weight doesn't matter, but your body fat percentage does. And then the other things that I really focus on is the non-scale victories. How are you sleeping? How is your sexual performance? How is your recovery? How is your digestion? How easily are you waking up? How easily can you fall asleep? So many other things that internally show me like this is healthy, so it'll show on the outside. So many times we want to work harder on the outside and not fix here, and it doesn't work like that. You can't just like water the outside of the plant and not let it like and put it in like bad dirt, right? You have to like put nutrients in the soil, which is good food and digestion. You got to allow it to absorb, which is your body working well. You got to let it have some sun, which is actually like chemically things. So, because we're all just like plants, if you think about it, we're just emotional plants, right? So so going back to that, so their biggest challenge is just like here, like they think they should be here, or worse, is they kill it, right? And their body's really responding, they're way ahead, but then they have a couple weeks that like they, in their mind, plateau, where I'm like, whoa. So this is my suggestion, you probably do this too, is I have you zoom out, right? We get so focused on like the day or the week. Well, the week's okay, but really the day, and you gotta like really zoom out, because if Joan lost 4 pounds in 2 weeks and then just plateaued, that's not inherently a problem. It's just the fact that she's missing and she lost 4 pounds that month. Like, that's good. So what's wrong? But what happened is, in her mind, she didn't lose any for a week. She started going, I'm doing something wrong. She maybe deviated from my plan, changed things without telling me, because she doesn't want to tell me now, but she thinks she needs to change something. And now as a coach, I'm like, well, what's going on? And then we have to have this like retrust bonding thing, right? Or they're patient. They're like, I know I'm telling you, I'm stressed about this, whatever. I explain to them what's going on in the body. They feel in control again. And then that weight just drops, because that's how the body works. In terms of fat loss, it is linear on a scale, but we don't use fat loss unless you have a thing like an InBody or some other very high-tech thing, right? But what people don't like to see, and what is realistic on a scale of using a body weight scale, right? It's this, because your water fluctuates. So when you think that your loss should be this, or your muscle gain should be like this, it's not going to look like that on a scale. So that's realistically where the number one challenge is that people have an expectation. Even though I do that, they're going to have inherent expectations of what they think should happen at a certain amount of time, or social media or other people they're comparing apples and oranges, when like you and I have completely different lives. Heck, we're 2 different sexes. Like, we're not going to have the same results. But if I'm like, damn it, like Julie's got a 6-pack already, this is garbage. Like I'm failing. And you're like, Eric, like I can do that real easy. Like that's me, but I don't have your arms, you know what I mean? So you have to like put it in contrast to your life and get back to that. So when I bring them back, it's usually like hey, we need to talk, kind of principal's office thing, but in a nice way. And then just like set expectations again and like see what else is going on. So many times, like when you look at life, there's so many variables, right? And stress is like has to do with it. A lot of times we don't want to talk about the inherent stress that's going on now, or maybe some things you're working through in the past that are like popping themselves up, you know, like me, like this is around the holidays. Like I've lost a parent the last 2 holiday seasons. So I don't know, this is my first like holiday season without parents. So it's like, ugh, you know what I mean? But that's real, right? So I have to give myself some grace and what's really happening, deal with it, move through it, and then just focus on growth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That was so amazing. Even from like the very beginning, what you said, even about weight loss too, when you're looking at the scale. Because I know I've had people, past clients who come to me and they're like, the scale says like I was 180 today and now I'm, 182. I'm like, well, there could be a variety of factors, right? It could be either you're eating a lot of sodium, you're putting on more muscle, and yeah, I mean, the scale watches, a number drop, but it doesn't take in all the other factors of it. It doesn't take on like muscle. Muscle weighs more than fat, right? So it's like, that's going to be another thing that just gets in your head. So the more you step on the scale, it just like, if you think that you're doing something wrong, it really doesn't. Something that's key too, is I saw this one TikTok trend, and that was probably a couple months ago. And, they have a voiceover that's like, show me a body that's like 110 to like 170 pounds. Anything out of that is crazy. Like, you shouldn't be that. That's not realistic, right? And so it's like really funny to see that, you could be 250 and jacked, or you could be, you could be happy, but it's just like at these certain numbers when like social media really starts to play into people's heads too, and such a big influence. Like it's not the number one way to actually get to your numbers, is like following what other people say. Everyone works on such an individual basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, so BMI is also another thing that people use a lot. So you got to remember, if you do look at back, and you can look it up, BMI was created in the 1800s. Do you think our body types have kind of changed over, 200 years? Yeah. So when you look at that, so it's BMI is a ratio of height to weight, right? So my BMI is an obese category. Do I look obese to you? Like I can stand up and I'll show you, like there's not a kegerator down here. Like I'm not obese. So, but I am in that. So if I'm going to apply for insurance or anything like that, it's actually going to have me in obese category, which I call garbaggio on, and like just send them a result of my body fat percentage, and it gets thrown out. But when people are conditioned to the scale and BMI, they think like, well, my doctor said this, which I get. Your doctor should say that, but not really. You're using an archaic tool. It's not really reflective of what you do. So when you put on muscle, which is now more the trend for longer term health, because it's shown scientifically that when you have more muscle, you're going to stress the bone more, because that's how it works with osteoclastic and osteoblastic activity. And you're going to have better bone density. Therefore, your weight's going to go up, blah, blah, blah. So lots of things. You can always ask me about that. We can do a video. But what people don't understand is like, that's not a good metric to use. But if it does drive you to like getting help, then, I suggest you talk to pros like us, as well as the fact of little pro tip nerd thing. So when people talk about water and fat, so you have a fat cell, right? Full of fat. What happens is when you lose the fat, the cell stays open, right? So what do you think goes in there? If you lost the fat and you're at a deficit, it's not fat, it's water. So when you're talking about muscle weighs more than fat, right, per square inch. So let's look at that in water. So realistically, if you have a cup and I put like olive oil on it, is it going to go to the bottom? No, it's going to go to the top, because it weighs less than water. So literally we're taking something that weighed less, got rid of it, and putting something in that space that weighed more. So why are you mad again that the scale didn't change, but your clothes fit better?
It's
science,
true, right? It's true. And you see and that's why pictures, I think, do such a good job too. It's like, you can clearly see if you're taking progressional photos over time, and this scale is not saying the exact thing that you want, but you're seeing these physical differences.
Yeah.
Is right there, right? It's huge.
Yeah.
That's
I'm proud of you for looking at that, because pictures are huge to us coaches. So I'm glad that you look at that and like bring it back home to what that really means to them.
exactly, exactly. So another question I have for you is, how do you create consistency with dieting, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for clients?
Yeah, I threaten them. I like send them a picture of my fist. No, I'm just kidding. The no, I mean, realistically, comes down to understanding their push and pull. I mean, realistically, you got to know that there are going to be days, and two, I get a lot of type A people and such that are very binary. I'm sure you do too. It's like, it's either pass or fail for them, win or lose. And life is not like that. So you have to like take that back, but still apply enough pressure so they're not like off the rails, right? So when people are, I guess like along that, I just make sure I'm checking in with them and not just listening to them, but hearing them. So you can talk to me, which is great, but if I'm over here doing this and I'm not paying attention, I'm not actually hearing you for what that means. So taking time and allowing me to let these people elaborate, open up, get it off their chest, brings them right back in because they have a connection with me. And that's realistically what we all want. I mean, why do people do CrossFit? Because it's a cool workout, sure, but they do it for community and connection, right? Why are they hiring us as a coach? They're looking for connection. Why do you get married or you have friends? You're looking for connection, right? So keeping them well connected, and there are going to be things that come up. Like I've had people that want to drop off because this and that, but I'm like, okay, so let's go back. Like you got all this going on, right? I get it. So when things are this busy, why are you saying you can't do this when I'm literally taking your meal planning off the plate? I'm taking your workout ideas off the plate. I'm supporting you in my emotional. Like, why do you think like when you're so busy that you want to put more on that plate? Like, let's be smart about this, back up, reevaluate, and apportion time. So the way that I keep them back on track is I just reevaluate your plan. Like maybe you are working out 5 or 6 days a week and now you can only get in 3. Cool, let's do it. I'll adjust your diet for your lifestyle. Same plan, same thing that why you brought me aboard, but I'm just still here. You're delegating that off. So when you have less time, you need to hire more help. You don't need to implode by putting more weight on you, right? And so when you get them to think of it that way, instead of it's like, I can't do it, like you can, we just need to keep it a priority. And if your priority shifted, I'm smart enough to make time for you as much as I can, right? So those types of talks is what really helps.
Yeah, that's like super, super crucial. I love that you said that, especially within the fact of communication. I think that's huge because as soon as, people start to open up to you, that's where you can fill the holes. That's where you can see the problems and be like, well, actually, no, you don't need to back off. Like, let me see how we can dive in here and open up to make sure that you're not stressed out about certain things. So that it's easy because wanting to make this lifestyle change, and this is why we're here, is to help. So to be able to communicate with clients clearly and say, hey, like, we're here for you. Like, you need to be able to open up and tell us what you're going through, tell your problems. It takes some prying, right? You have to really get to understand someone, but once you get there, like, changing someone's life, like, it's huge, right? It's just that. Yeah. I think that's a real challenge with coaches is, we're here to really help people, but it's just that initial, like, got to be honest with us. And that's
I mean, do you think, well, this is what makes us more effective for what I talked about, the roadmap to get there. We didn't just say go west. We said, this is how you do it. You can turn here, you can do this, and we're going to make this. And if you get a flat tire, this is how we fix it. Like, we do these things. So a lot of times people have been burned because they get coaches, right? That just give them this like cookie cutter program. There's this, they don't interact with them, and that's their impression of that. But I can tell you, if you decide to work with one of us, that you are not going to get that. You're going to get more of a comprehensive professional. It's actually going to be on the sideline with you, telling you where to go, how to do this, making changes with you, adjusting through this game of life, and making sure that you understand how to play it the best for however many things come up. So, because there will be things, and life is just a bunch of adjustments, and that's no chiropractic joke, but we talk about that all the time. So it is. It's just full of adjustments. Right? Yeah, got you there. So yeah, so I encourage you, anybody that's watching this, like, I know you can get free stuff on the internet. I know that you can get plans and such, but does it work for you? Do you relate to us? Do you find somebody that you can actually be like, yeah, I really know them outside of swiping through their stuff on Instagram and go, I want that body, but do you know that person? Can they truly help you with what, and you can connect to them? Because life is, things are going to happen. You're going to start today, you're going to get excited, you're going to do that. But what type of coach and what program is actually going to be moldable and helpful for you when the inevitable things do come up? And when you look at this is not a 2-week, 4-week, 8-week sprint. This is a 16-week, 20-week, 24-week, 52-week marathon to realistically change your lives, make an impact, and you're going to have other people watching you. And during that, we're going to step back as you're like, in your stride, clapping you along, making sure you're doing good. But that's where like Julie and I separate ourselves from other people. So I hope you kind of took a lot of this information. I mean, I've enjoyed talking with you about this stuff, but I hope that we really impact some people today who watch this video and like make a decision to like, yes, I want to invest in this, because the return on investment that I get, people tell me is like, that's my why. So if you said like, hey doc, why are you even doing that? Like, that is my why of like making that impact. And my pull is seeing like pictures of their kids and them, like kids working out with them and them like being able to do things they never could. So those are the stories I like. So, hopefully we get a lot more of those going into this 2022, right? And further.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I mean, like, I feel like that was an awesome way to kind of wrap things up. You gave like so many valuable tips in here that I think like the members that are going to watch this, if they were on live, they can always rewatch it, as I'll post it in the group and you can watch Eric. But Eric, would you mind telling us, like, if my members want to go check you out too and see where they can find more information and where they can, see some more awesome knowledge, where should they connect with you at too?
Yeah, well, I'm going to offer this kind of twofold. So they can connect with me at Fit for Life Doc. So Fit for Life Doc is my Instagram handle. So I do a lot through Instagram. I do some through Facebook and such. And I do have my Facebook group, which is a free group. And I put a lot of things in there. I go live kind of like what you do, like once a week, and people are open to ask me any questions in that group. If you're not in the group and you just want to like follow me on Instagram, I do just Q&As. Sometimes when I'm grunting through cardio, I'll just like pull up my phone and you can ask me anything. Like, so I'm extending this to you, which I hope you remember when I met you in Miami, that if you are having like, and then your clients have questions about something, like I'm here to give you the doctor technical point of that, of something you might not wonder, know or whatever, but I'm here to make sure that your group is fully supported because I support you. I know you're a great coach. And again, like when my members maybe don't want to, the body and stuff that I do, I know they want like Julia, I will going to be sending them to you as well. But I look forward to further talks down the road and any questions you have and collaborating. I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. Make sure you guys go and check out Eric if you haven't already. But yeah, again, thanks so much, Eric. I am going to stop our live stream here.
Okay.
So we're all good there.
Bye, guys. Have a